welcome. I'm Rabbi Robin Frisch, and this is the Mazel Pups Podcast. If you are Jewish or Jewish, however you define it, and you love dogs, this is the podcast for you. I am really, really thrilled about today's guest, Melissa Goldman, and our other guest, her dog, Lucy. I first learned about Melissa and Lucy when Melissa's mom, Lucy's Bubby, her name is Lynn, and she shared in the Mazel Pups Facebook group about her granddog Lucy's Bark Mitzvah. And I reached out to Lynn, and she sent me this really great article that was actually written both by Lynn and Melissa about the Bark Mitzvah, and I posted it on mazelpups.com. If you haven't read it yet, I encourage you to. And now I get to talk to Melissa, and we'll get to learn more about Melissa and Lucy, about the Bark Mitzvah, and about their relationship. But first, we have to begin with the Mazel Pups lightning round. I don't think Lucy can answer the questions, so I will ask them to Melissa. Melissa, it's kind of an obvious question. Do you currently have a dog? As her dog sits there.
Yes, this is Lucy. She is 15 now, so her Bark Mitzvah was actually 2 years ago when she was 13.
So can you share with us a fun fact or two about Lucy besides the fact that she had a Bark Mitzvah?
Yeah, it's funny because when people ask me what my fun fact is, it's usually I have a senior dog, and when she was 13, since we're Jewish, I threw her a Bark Mitzvah. But another fun fact about Lucy is that her birthday is Valentine's Day. So that's the actual day she was born, not the day that I got her. It's very fitting for her personality because she's full of love. And yeah, February 14th, 2009.
And if I remember correctly, wasn't her Bark Mitzvah was right near her birthday, right? So it was really close to Valentine's Day.
Yes, we did it on February 12th.
So we're going to shift a moment from Lucy to Judaism, although we were talking about a Bark Mitzvah, but I want to shift to Judaism more broadly. And I want to ask you, what do you like most about Judaism?
I love being Jewish. I'm really grateful to have grown up in Miami, where there's a very large and active Jewish community. So, I never really had to work hard to be Jewish. Like, all my friends were Jewish. We all had bar and bat mitzvahs. I went to summer camp. I learned Hebrew in school. So for me, it's been about a sense of community, and I've always been very proud to be Jewish. And I think especially after 10/7 now, I'm even more proud. And, we're the chosen people. So I feel like it's an honor to be chosen to be Jewish.
Awesome. And what's your favorite Jewish holiday?
So I love Shabbat. I don't know if you were expecting me to talk about, Hanukkah or Passover or Purim, but I love Shabbat. I don't keep Shabbat. I'm obviously not a super religious Jew. I'm Reform, maybe kind of conservative at times, but I do light candles every Friday night, since 10/7 especially. And when I'm with Lucy, I do it with her since she has been Bark Mitzvah. It is important that, she act as a Jewish woman and participate in lighting the Shabbat candles. But something that I also consider a really important and special Jewish holiday, now more than ever, is Yom HaAtzmaut and Yom HaZikaron. And last year, I was actually in Israel with Miami Jewish Federation on their mission trip for the 75th birthday. And it really dawned on me then, but especially now, how different Memorial Day and Independence Day are in Israel versus here in America. We had Memorial Day, and for most Americans, I think it's really more of like a 3-day weekend, maybe go on your vacation. It's the start of summer, barbecue, go to the beach, but you don't really feel like it's a memorial holiday. It doesn't have like a somber feeling, where in Israel, like, since everybody's part of IDF and everybody knows somebody personally who unfortunately, is being memorialized, it's a really special holiday, and it feels more intentional. And then the very next day to then celebrate Israel's independence is an incredible, turnaround from the day prior, July 4th. Yeah, it's fun to go to the beach, have a hot dog, see some fireworks, but it doesn't have that same feeling that it did, at least for me when I was there. So to answer your question, those
Thank you.
also
I love that actually. And I'm,
favorite
I'm
holidays.
guessing nobody else is going to say those holidays on this podcast unless they hear you and then say it as well. But
It's
it
fine. I'll share
is,
my answer.
it is so important, I think, to remember in Israel, like we wouldn't have Independence Day without all of the people we've lost. We're going to talk about dogs. So obviously you've had Lucy for 15 years or close to 15 years. I'm curious, is Lucy your first dog or did you have a dog growing up?
So my parents are divorced, and bounced back and forth between both homes, but I mainly lived with my mom, and it was just me and her. We didn't have an animal in the house. My dad did have a dog and a cat when I was in high school, but I remember the first time, I think it was when I came home from college, and the dog remembered me. And I thought, oh my God, I've been away for like a whole semester and you remembered me. That's kind of sweet. But it really wasn't until I was graduating college and trying to figure out, what was next. And my plan was to move back home for a bit with my mom. And we talked about getting a dog. So it was my graduation gift. And my last semester of college was a summer semester. I got Lucy, brought her with me, and she's been with me ever since then. So she's really been a part of my life, my entire adult life. I'm 37 now. But she was I will consider her my first dog tour.
Mm-hmm.
I said.
And your mom really is her bubby. It's not
Oh,
just
yeah.
you. It works both ways. I know that Lucy's very fond of your mom and
Yeah.
your mom as well.
I do have to plug my mom here, who is Bubby, and thank you for introing her as part of this, because we did connect to you through her. But we really are like the three crazies. It's Bubby, and then Lucy's mom, but she's well aware that she's the grand dog, and she lives here with me in Brickell, which is like downtown Miami. And then if ever I go on a trip or if I have a work obligation or something, Lucy goes up to my mom's in Delray, and that's like her time with Bubby in the suburbs, and she's with all my mom and her retired friends. So she's like one of the old ladies.
Does she play mahjong?
She plays canasta
Okay.
and pickleball.
Oh, I play pickleball too. I'll have to come visit.
Lucy has been part of canasta games.
Was it intentional to get a female dog to keep in the line or just coincidence?
You know, I don't remember. It was so long ago. I just know I really wanted I was looking at Malteses and Yorkies and um Cavapoos. I don't think golden doodles were a thing back then, or I certainly wasn't looking for a golden doodle. I feel like now everyone has a golden doodle, but I'm very happy with my Maltipoo. Um, and we found her because there was an ad for her in the Miami Herald. She was bred in a house, not like, a puppy mill or
Mm-hmm.
anything. And it was in like the Little Havana area. So I like to say Lucy's also a Cuban, because we are in Miami and there are like Cuban and Jewish families. So that's,
Does she respond in Spanish as well, or?
I mean, she doesn't respond. She does what she wants. Like she's not where is she? She's one second. Let me. I mean, if you could only see, but it would mess up the frame. You could only see her climbing on top of the pillows like a little princess.
Yes, I will say to everyone, the goal was to have Lucy here for the whole interview, but we know she's a dog and she'll do what she wants to do.
She was here. She was just up in the pillows.
She
Normal
is
for
so
her.
cute. So do a lot of your friends have dogs?
Um, yeah, a lot of them do. She's a lot older than some of the other dogs. But we live in a building where there's a lot of dogs. So she has her friends that she sees when we go on walks and like in the elevator, and everyone knows her.
Do you take her a lot of places that you go?
Um, I mean, at one point I'd say she was like a frequent flyer. She would go with me. We lived in New York for a bit. We spent a couple summers in the Hamptons with my job. So she came with me, but she hasn't been on a plane in a while. but I take her in the car on trips.
So if you're going just out in Florida, though, if you're going to hang out, does she come a lot or stay home more?
Since she's older and it's like really
Yeah.
hot here, sometimes yes. When she was younger, I would take her to restaurants and shopping, but it's a lot for her now.
Meanwhile, New York, the Hamptons, and Florida, she is living my 18-year-old daughter's dream life. So Lucy the dog. So I'm just curious. We'll get to the Bark Mitzvah in just a few minutes, and she was dressed up quite adorably for that. Do you typically dress Lucy up? I don't know about you, but I follow, not surprisingly, lots of dogs on Instagram, and many of them are dressed up regularly, either with a bandana or a whole outfit. Does Lucy do that, or does she tend to just be herself?
She dresses up for Halloween. We have a couple costumes that we rotate depending on what she feels like being that year. But on a regular basis, no. Like I don't put bows in her hair or bandanas because she's not that kind of girl. She Even when she was little, she's more of like a snuggler. Like we're doing this interview as I'm sitting on the couch because even though you can't see her, she's just right next to me hanging out on the couch. And that's what she likes to do. We just hang out, watch Bravo. She's very chill. She loves like a good reality show moment watching with me. But she's not like a prancy, get dressed up kind of.
Is she like into Real Housewives, or what's her favorite Bravo?
Oh, she loves Real Housewives. She loves Vanderpump Rules. It's funny when I leave her for several hours, I make sure to put Bravo on for her. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's, something that I know is not so entertaining, like Below Deck maybe, I'll turn on Peacock and I'll stream like old episodes of the Housewives franchise.
Bark Mitzvahs. Before we get to Lucy's, do you remember the first time you ever heard of a Bark Mitzvah, and what'd you think of the idea?
I don't remember when or how I heard about it, but I just knew as Lucy got older, once she became like around 8, 9, 10, I was constantly talking about, and when she's 13, I'm going to have a Bark Mitzvah. She's going to have a Bark Mitzvah. She's going to have a Bark Mitzvah. Like it was very much a milestone that I just was really excited to do. And I don't know that I necessarily knew what it looked like or would look like,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew that it was a big deal to be 13 for a human and for a dog. And I wanted to do something just, to celebrate it.
Now, did any of your friends have Bark Mitzvahs for their dogs?
No, no,
And when you
no.
told them, I'm thinking of doing this, or I'm going to do this for my dog, what was their reaction?
Um, I mean, it's very on brand for me to do something ridiculous like this. And in fact, at the Bark Mitzvah, I gave a speech, to welcome everybody and to kind of talk about the purpose of what we were doing. And I said something like, thank you for coming to this obviously outrageous, but also very adorable party that I'm throwing. And I acknowledged like, this is kind of silly, but at the same time, Lucy was 13. I had raised her for 13 years, which is a big deal to me. We're Jewish, and it felt like something important that I wanted, to have a memory of. I thought about all of the bachelorette and wedding parties and baby showers and baby namings and all the things that I had been to for my friends. And I decided that I wanted to celebrate my baby and throw her a Bark Mitzvah and have everybody come out and spend the day at the park with, their pets and their human children too, and celebrate Lucy turning 13. And I acknowledged that it was kind of silly. I started off by saying, I gave a speech, and I think I started it by saying, as a single Jewish dog mom, like naturally I've always wanted to throw my dog a Bark Mitzvah or something alluding to like, this is why I'm doing it, because I don't have a wedding to invite you to, and I don't have a 4 or 2-legged child's birthday party to invite you to. So instead, you're coming to Lucy's 13.
So, a bit of an aside here. Are you still a single Jewish dog mom?
I am still a single Jewish dog mom, yes.
Well, I have to say that Mazel Pups would love nothing more than to be able to add to what we do between dogs and Jewish to also add matchmaker or shadchan. So if anyone is interested, if you have a very good catch, look at her. She's gorgeous, she's smart, she has everything going for her. So if you know of anyone worthy of that, please feel free to be in touch with me at mazelpups@gmail.com. And I am, as I said, thrilled to play matchmaker.
Yes, if you're watching this and if you want to get to know me and Lucy, email Robin. Since I don't have children of my own, human children of my own, I really just felt like saying to my friends, you know what? Come drag your human and animal children to the park on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Let's have some drinks, let's have some snacks, and hang out with dogs. And I really didn't feel like that was a huge ask for any of my friends, given that I've gone to all of the other baby namings and gender reveals and bridal parties, bachelorette parties, and all of that.
Were your friends supportive? Did they all understand? Or do you think any
Oh,
of them felt like, ugh, now we have to do this? Or fine, I'll do it for Melissa because I love her, but this is crazy. What do you think they all thought?
I think there was an understanding that it was a little crazy, but fun. And, everybody was supportive.
That's great.
Everybody thought it was, a cute thing. I made invitations. My mom actually hand sewed a talit and a yarmulke for Lucy. We had programs with just like a couple prayers, and there were like elements of Judaism obviously incorporated into the day, but it wasn't like this formal, we didn't go to temple or anything. It was at the park, and it was just a fun day to play with dogs and celebrate Lucy being 13 and Jewish.
So I just want to say before we continue, because I want to talk more about the Bark Mitzvah, and I'm actually going to say this to everyone listening more than to you, is that the reason I chose you to talk to about a Bark Mitzvah is because it sounds to me, and having read your article and heard from your mom about it in particular, that it was a really fun special day, acknowledging that Lucy is part of a Jewish family, but there was also this clear line of she's a dog, not a human. And as you said, there were some prayers, and I'm curious, what that means, but it wasn't like an actual service. There was no real Torah there. Her talit, which, I would call it a talit too, but it was not a real talit. It was this very cute little shawl that your mom made, but it didn't have the tzitzit, the fringes. So it wasn't, in my opinion, in any way disrespectful to Judaism. It was a fun way to say, I'm a Jewish person. I have a dog. I love my dog. She's part of my family. So I want to just be really clear about that I have read about and heard about some Bark Mitzvahs that I think can cross the line into inappropriate. And what they should be is fun and celebratory, but not inappropriate. And in my opinion, yours was not at all inappropriate, which is exactly why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I think it just sounds like a wonderful day celebrating Lucy in a Jewish way, but an appropriate Jewish way. So that's my little disclaimer there, because I know some people are like, oh my goodness, the Bark Mitzvah, how could you do that? And, certainly rabbinic colleagues of mine might feel that way. But again, I don't think that's at all what this was, which is why I'm so excited to talk about this. So first of all, you've kind of alluded to some of this, and I know it was around her birthday, so it was really perfect timing around February 14th, which is on top of that, a day of love. We don't have to say St. Valentine's Day, but it's a day that, most of us who aren't Orthodox celebrate and acknowledge in the calendar. And so tell us where it was. And I know you said your friends were there. Any more details though? We know what she wore, but what did you do, and what else was it like, and who ran the service? Was that you or someone else?
Sure. So it was on a Saturday afternoon at Brickell Key Park, which is, right around the corner. My friends and I walk Brickell Key a couple times a week. It's a beautiful park on the water. And we just had a little, they have these, I don't know what you call them,
Like
pavilions.
Mm-hmm.
And I decorated it with balloons and, a banner, like happy birthday banner. There was a dog cake. There was a human cake. There were a few charcuterie boards, which again kind of shows how not serious and like ultra religious this was, because a charcuterie board is not kosher. But there were also charcuterie boards of dog treats. So 50-50, things for dogs, things for humans. There was a bar for the humans. And then I also had different toys for the dogs. And there was like all these toys that were different bottles of, like a rosé bottle or like a beer can, but they were funny, like dog versions. All right, Luce, she's over it. So that the table was, nicely decorated. And then actually I have this sign here from Lucy's Bark Mitzvah, which was on the table. And I have the little yarmulke that we pinned to her head, and then the talit that my mom sewed for her. I wasn't gonna have her put it on because it's a process. But yeah, it was decorated. It definitely felt like a party. If you were on the key that day, you could definitely see that something was being celebrated. There was music. I think there were probably 15-ish humans and maybe 5 to 10 dogs that came. And I started the program with just welcoming everybody in, and also just acknowledging that this was a fun thing, a silly thing, but also something that I wanted to do for Lucy and for our Jewish family. Talked a little bit about what a bar and bat mitzvah is, because I had Jewish and non-Jewish friends come. And then I know we sang happy birthday to her in English and in Hebrew. We did Hamotzi, we did the Kiddush, we did the Mourner's Kaddish, and we also my mom found a prayer for dogs that had passed over the Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, nice.
A little emotional. So we did, that was really the religious part of the event.
So do you think Lucy knew that she was being honored, that there was something special for her that day?
Lucy's honored every day. Yes. I mean, when we were setting up for this podcast, she knew something was happening.
Which is about her, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. And I was thinking about this. I enjoyed my bat mitzvah, and at the time, even though I was a kid, I knew the work that my mom had put into planning it and executing it, and the expense of it. And I knew, the work that I had put in learning my Torah portions, doing all the things that I needed to prepare for as the person going up on the bima. Lucy didn't really do any work.
Right.
I thought a lot about, what that was like for her, and if my mom had enjoyed my bat mitzvah as much as I had. And if not that I have any regrets about Lucy's Bark Mitzvah, but I was so involved in like making sure the balloons weren't going to fly away, making sure like, it was like set up right, and that like the dogs were having fun and the people were having fun, and we did this and we did that. And I put so much planning into the details, and looking back, like I wish I had gotten more pictures, and I wish that I had been more present, because I was definitely, wanting to create a certain moment and energy for the event that, if I could do it all over again.
I think that's hard when you host anything, because you're worried about everyone else's enjoyment so much that it's then hard for you to be present. And I know as a rabbi, when I meet with anyone having a life cycle event, like that's one of the things I say to them is like, and then when you get there, just let go and enjoy. But it's hard to do when you're also worried about everyone else's happiness, and you have to make sure that the food is put out correctly and everything's in the right place and all those things. So hopefully it sounds like you enjoyed it. And you do have some great pictures, so that's good as well. So let me ask you, now that it's like many things, once you've done it, you're the expert because you've had a Bark Mitzvah. Is there any advice you'd offer to someone who is looking to have a Bark Mitzvah for their dog?
I would say hire a photographer and don't rely on a friend to take pictures. If you care about documenting the day, which I very much did. and just own it. Just own it. It's a fun, silly thing, but it's also a special thing. It's a unique thing. And there's no right or wrong way to do something like this. Not that there really is for humans either, because there are different, different ways to be Jewish and different religious styles. So there's no rule book on what you do or don't need to do. So just, I would say, plan something that feels right. But if you're going to do it, have a lot of fun and own it, because you're throwing a 13th birthday party for a dog.
Which reminds me, were there doggy bags when people left? Did you have gifts
So
that they took?
I can't believe that I haven't mentioned this either yet, but my mom actually, during the pandemic, she got very into sewing. So what started as like making masks has now turned into, she makes all of these different things. So she sewed the talit and the yarmulke, but she also made these toys for all the dogs. And they were like in the shape of a bone with a little squeaky thing in them. And they said, I pottied, like PAW, I pottied at Lucy's Bark Mitzvah. And every dog got one.
I'm thinking she was from Little Havana. Now I'm thinking like quinceañera this year. She's 15.
It's funny because I wanted to do a quince for her. And at one point, I'm telling you, I'm that friend. I was looking on TikTok at dog quinces and quinceañeras. And there were a couple videos with a mariachi band. And I was like, oh, I got to get Lucy a mariachi band. And we got to do this whole thing. But also because her birthday is Valentine's Day, it kind of fell to the wayside this year. So we did something else. I think I made like a video montage of her. But next year, Sweet 16.
You got my next question already.
Yeah.
Sweet
And
16 is yes.
Knock on wood. It's tough. Like, my friends actually, since her Bark Mitzvah every year, they're like, oh, well, what are you doing for her 14th and her 15th and her 16th? And it's like, I don't want to start talking about it until it gets a little bit closer, because, right. I'm grateful that she's still here. And I, of course, want her around as long as possible in good health and happy. But hopefully I will be throwing her a Sweet 16.
I'm coming to Florida if I can come.
Okay, you're invited.
I know Lucy, she should, but she does not have her own Instagram account. So I know, have a private account, but if someone wants to follow you, how would they ask to do so?
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is it's Mel, ITSMEL_G. So it's Mel G.
And you can see some pictures of Lucy there, I will say. And also you can see Melissa's very exciting life. You do lots of fun things as someone who follows you. So
I have a highlight of her Bark Mitzvah, and then I have a couple Lucy highlights, and then I think I have a highlight from my Israel trip last year.
Lucy, I want to thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to thank Melissa. It was so wonderful talking to you. What a thrill to meet the two of you after it's been a couple years since I first read about the Bark Mitzvah, and now to see you in person or in dog. I don't know what you say when you see a dog for real, but it really was a pleasure to talk to you. And I'm so glad Lucy could be here with us. And please thank your mom for this great introduction and for connecting us. And I hope we'll get to see lots more pictures of Lucy on Mazel Pups.
No, thank you. I mean, we're so honored to be on your podcast and to even be on the Instagram. I remember one week Lucy was a Shabbat star, and I was like, my God, you're famous. Yeah, I think she was one of the first Shabbat stars. And now I think she's one of the first on the podcast. So we love Mazel Pups, and we're so happy that you started this community and that we get to be a part of it. So thank you.
One of the best things about Mazel Pups for me is connecting with these people I would never have connected with otherwise. People who care about Judaism, care about dogs, and all over. And it's been so wonderful. And you and your mom and Lucy are a great example of that. And of course, connecting with all of you, everyone who's watching this podcast, who gets to hear these conversations, who gets to learn from our guests. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And I hope you'll be back for our next episode. Thank you.
Hello, shalom friends. I'm Bo, one of Rabbi Robin's dogs and our original Mazel Pup. If you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a pause and 5-star rating, and follow us on social media. Thanks for listening.